Now here's your host, Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage.
Oh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. We are your hosts. This is Aaron Savage. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Mr. Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, man.
What's going on, Jay? Before we introduce our very special guest, I wanted to first just congratulate White Sox lefty Carlos Rodon for his no-hitter. Just missed the 24th perfect game in Major League Baseball history by this much. Hit a batter with one out in the ninth. So a hits batsman aside, perfect game. Congrats to him. And also I wanted to wish the best to seven-time NBA All-Star, current Nets player LaMarcus Aldridge, who had to abruptly retire due to discovering an irregular heartbeat. So that's shocking news that he had to retire like that. So best of luck to him. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, without further ado, I want to welcome our very, very special guest to the show. We are super pumped to have him, especially me being in New Jersey. He's the frontman of a legendary New Jersey band, TT Quick, and he's currently the frontman of a legendary German heavy metal band, Accept. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Mark Tornillo.
Hey.
What's going on, Mark? How are you?
Good. How you doing, guys?
What's up?
I'm hanging in there.
Awesome. We're glad to have you, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Upset that there's no baseball today, but you know.
Rainy day in New Jersey, New York. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. How about you, Jay?
Doing all right. I see you got your Mets gear on there.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, Jay's a Phillies fan, Mark. Oh.
Yeah, well, so's my son-in-law.
Oh, okay. So you're used to it then.
Phillies, Eagles, we know.
Yep. So anyway, before we get into the metal, I'm going to take a little left turn since you came in all decked out. Dude, how'd you become a Mets fan? You growing up in New Jersey just since you were young?
Been a Mets fan since '62.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm giving away my age here, but my grandfather, my mother's parents lived next door, and my grandfather was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan. They moved to L.A., or they moved to the West Coast, and it was as soon as the Mets fired up. My brother was a hardcore Yankees fan. My grandfather wasn't having it, so once the Mets started up at the Polo Grounds, that was it. That's what we were watching.
Awesome. I'm a little younger. I became a Mets fan like 84, 85, Doc Straw.
Yeah.
When MTV actually played music and the Mets were on MTV.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah. MTV played music? Oh, my goodness.
Really?
But anyway, man. So, yeah, welcome to the show again. We're glad to have you.
Hey, glad to be here.
I guess the best place to start, I have to ask, being a Jersey guy, when I grew up, I was always going to Route 18 flea market.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, that meant I was at Rock and Roll Heaven, Johnny Z's store.
Mm-hmm.
So I know TT Quick, you guys are New Jersey legends, and you were signed to Megaforce. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the background of that, how you ended up hooking up with Johnny Z and getting signed to Megaforce, like that original group of bands with Anthrax, Overkill, TT Quick. Why don't you tell us a little about that?
Well, that's basically where it all happened, was at that flea market. We had been, cover band, obviously, for the longest time, but we were working on originals and, writing originals, playing them out live and doing the AC/DC thing and all that stuff. David DiPietro, who was not yet part of the band, had contacted me about doing an original project. And I guess he had seen us play up in Connecticut at the Aragon Ballroom up there, or the Agora rather. And long story short, him and I were working on a side project and writing and doing things and recording a demo and working on, obviously trying to put a band together to get signed. So long story short, TT Quick needed a guitar player. So he came down and joined the band, and it was still a 5-piece band at that point. And eventually we went to being a 4-piece band. Right around this time, Glenn Evans, who was the drummer at that time from Nuclear Assault, and lots of other bands before us. Glenn was the one who was going to Rock and Roll Heaven every week.
Okay.
We were all in and out of the flea market, but he's the one that was there every week buying, imports and whatever, and hit it off with Johnny Z. Johnny Z found out that he was in the band, and he says, well, why don't you bring me a demo tape? So he comes back to us and he goes, well, we need a demo tape. And Dave and I went, well, we got a demo tape. He's like, what do you mean you got a demo tape? Take this to him. And it had Child of Sin on it. It had Victims on it. I think it even had a cover of Fortunate Son on it. So it was almost the EP already.
Cool.
And Johnny Z lost his mind and wanted to sign the band. So that was it.
Awesome. You mentioned AC/DC. I know you guys did some Accept covers back in those days too.
We did. But at one point we were doing it was called the High Voltage Hour. We did an entire set of AC/DC. This is when all Crystal Ship and all these bands were starting up with the tributes.
Yeah,
I didn't want to do just a tribute band because we wanted to play our originals and we wanted to play other stuff. But put people in the seats, why not? We were playing at the Fountain Casino on Monday nights, and we started doing that. And the High Voltage Hour, we called it. And then, that was right around the time. I'm going to say 6 months before Bon Scott passed away.
Wow!
And when he died, then it really started getting crazy. And then I almost died. Seriously, I was. He died in February. In April that year, I was in intensive care for 10 days with a collapsed lung and pneumonia, and very almost didn't get out of that. But straightened it out. And then I come back to find out that Brian Johnson's in the band. Now I got to start singing this. It's like, oh my God, you're kidding me. So it's like, pull your act together now.
So is that where your vocal style really came from? The Brian Johnson influence when he joined AC/DC?
Well, I had always sang kind of raspy and high and really more of a Robert Plant type thing. I think I was doing back in those days,
Yeah.
But as time went on, yeah, definitely. But I was always into like Slade and Nazareth and those kind of bands, European bands that also had singers that sounded like that, Just always tried to emulate those guys, and it really just turned into something that works for me.
I'm a huge Nazareth fan. I know, Jay, you've even mentioned, and when you listen to TT Quick, you even hear some Priest in there.
Yeah, definitely. Judas Priest, style in that album, especially the first couple songs. Like, it actually reminded me of Metal Gods, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Type. And the Point of Entry type album too, that kind of style.
Well, they were a big influence on us as well. The whole British invasion, the metal, British wave of metal was incredible between them and Maiden. It was like, wow, you can do so many things.
Yeah. I'm too young to have seen you guys back in L'Amour's in '87.
Oh God!
I did have the pleasure of seeing the reunited TT Quick. I think it was 2012 in Freehold, New Jersey, my hometown, at the Hurricane Sandy benefit at iPlay.
Yep.
So
that was a great show.
Yeah, it was awesome. Great time, man.
That was a lot of fun.
Which brings me to Twisted Sister. They were on the bill. Played an abbreviated set, but kicked major ass. I had seen Dee Snider so many times solo in the '90s. With a Sick Motherfuckers tour.
Yep.
And it was awesome. But to see the reunited Twisted Sister in the makeup for that was killer. And I guess that leads me to something I didn't even realize until recently, just getting ready for this show. I didn't realize that AJ Pero was in TT Quick for a minute.
He was for a while after Medal of Honor. Eric had a lot of problems with family, and his father was really, really sick, dying of cancer. And he just said, look, I'm going home. I have to. Yeah. I'm going to take a leave of absence. And we were just riding off of the Medal of Honor album. We wanted to put out another record. And AJ and I were friends, and I called him up. I said, I had heard that they had a falling out after Come Out and Play. and called him up, asked if he was interested. He's like, damn Skippy, I'm interested. So he was a great drummer, man. And what a nice guy and a great guy to play with, man. So yeah, he was actually with us when we wrote most of the songs for Sloppy Seconds.
Yeah, he was a great drummer. Rest in peace.
It's
Jay
funny.
and
I saw him, just before he passed, a few times on the road with Accept, like at festivals in Europe, and just what a great guy. I'm glad I got to catch up with him.
Yeah. Jay and I actually were lucky enough to be on that metal show right after he passed, and I think JJ French came on the show, and maybe Eddie Ojeda was on there right after he passed away. So tragic loss. But I imagine that you guys really knew each other well back in those early club days. I mean, Twisted Sister, they paid their dues for a decade.
Dude, we played with them so many times.
Yep.
Emmett's Inn out in the woods in Jamesburg, 3 stages.
Yeah.
And I could tell you stories that'll make your head spin, but we played with Twisted so often back then. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'd love to hear those stories, man. That's like my neck of the woods. Like I used to go to the Birch Hill. You remember the Birch?
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, that was great. I must have been there 2-3 times a week. I felt like when I was 21.
This was not far from there. I think Emmett's was probably about 2 miles away from the Birch Hill.
Yeah,
but further out in the woods.
Cool. So I know Jay and I both have a question we want to ask. How did you get the Accept gig? I had read that you guys were at a party together. You and Wolf Hoffman and Pete were at a party together in Pennsylvania, and you were just jamming, and somehow that led to you getting the gig. What happened with that?
Okay, let me try and make this as short as possible. What really happened was that The Wrestler had come out, right? The movie The Wrestler.
Yep.
And
great movie, by the way.
The featured song in that movie was Balls to the Wall.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you're right. I forgot about that.
When he came back.
Yes.
They actually played it twice in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of noise about Accept all of a sudden again, and they hadn't been together in 14 years. They had played a reunion tour in 2005 festivals, and it got cut short because they started fighting. And then the Wrestler came out, and they said, look, if we're ever going to put the band together, this would probably be the time to do it. And that was 2008. And they had another powwow with Udo, and he didn't want to do it, and he was making ridiculous demands if he was going to do it. And they were like, this is not going to happen. So Peter, turns out, lived in Newtown, PA, which is 45 minutes from me. I'm in Hunterdon County.
Okay.
His son had a band, and his son's band was recording an album down at Surefire Music in Long Branch.
Okay.
Joey DeMayo's studio. Wolf had come up because he was all mad about the band not getting back together, and he was driving Gabby nuts. She said, "Why don't you get the hell out of here? Go see Peter or something." So he did. Came up to see Peter. They were at the studio. They were talking about this whole thing, and Joey overheard them, DeMayo, and he goes, "Why don't you call Mark?" And they're like, Who Mark? Why would we call Mark? Who is Mark? The singer from TT Quick. And I don't know if they recognized the name from Michael Wagner, or because Michael Wagner had worked on Medal of Honor with us. He had done a couple of their records. He was actually in Accept, the very first incarnation. He was one of the guitar players. Long story short, they decided they would give me a call because he talked them into it, saying I could do the job. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine who asked me if it was okay if they gave Peter Baltus my phone number. And I was like, what does he want? I have no idea. So a couple of days later, I got a call from Peter Baltus. He said, would you like to come down and jam with me and Wolf at the studio? And I'm like, okay. What's it about? Just a jam. We just want to hang out. We need somebody who can sing. We heard that you're the guy. I'm like, okay. So I went down there, and the two of them played. My friend Carlo played drums, and we jammed like all afternoon. We played some old Accept stuff. We played some AC/DC. We actually wrote it. We actually wrote "Life's a Bitch" that day, that very first day, and sat on it for how many years? and we had a great time. And I just figured that was it, and get my Balls album signed. What the hell,
Yeah.
And didn't really think much of it after that. And about 2 weeks later, Peter called me again. He says, "Well, what would you think about doing an album and a tour?" And I always say this. I went and said to my wife, "What do I think about doing an album and a tour?" And she, very wise woman, said, "Well, if you don't do it, there'll be no living with you. So I think you should go do it."
That's great.
And that was it.
That's amazing.
We started writing Blood of the Nations right after that. Well, then we got Andy Sneap on board because we were writing, and Andy Sneap came in and said, "Listen to what we were doing." And he was like, "No, no, 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 no." So he made everyone sit down and listen to the old 80s Accept albums from Breaker on, from Breaker through Russian Roulette.
Yep.
And we want this, we don't want this. We want this, we don't want this. We want this, don't want this. Next thing you know, we wrote Teutonic Terror. So he put us on the right path.
That's probably my favorite Accept song. I don't know if that's blasphemous to say.
Well, for me, it's not.
I know it's not for you.
To some, in certain circles, I would imagine it is. But
I think that Blood of the Nations is the best Accept album.
Well, I certainly appreciate that.
I'll second that. I'm blown away by all 5 of the new records. Under your watch. I just every album has it's just amazing. What you brought to the band. I mean, your lyrics are absolutely like poignant. Like when I listen to some of the songs that you've written, like just. I can name, I'm not going to sit here and name every song, but it's just a lot of thought. It's definitely thought provoking, and it definitely gets the listener to appreciate, that part of the band. And
well, they always had that kind of, aside from the broken English on some of the older albums, they were always, very politically charged and thought-provoking songs. I thought Balls is a very political song,
Yeah.
So but yeah, I mean, I go back and listen to some of the stuff I've written too, and we play stuff that I haven't heard in a couple of years, and I'll go, "What the hell was I thinking? Where did that come from?" It's a gift from God, some of it, I think. It's like, geez.
Well, that's how music and art is. I mean, you just get in that moment at that particular time, and there's something the vibe you're in, and you're like, what was I thinking at that time? And it's like that's how masterpieces are created.
It does take you back, but it also takes you by surprise. So.
Yeah, I think Blood of the Nations is a masterpiece heavy metal album. I mean, honestly,
I greatly appreciate that.
Top to bottom, I mean, there's not one bad track. It's just. When I put that album on, I crank it to 10 and I just drive. It's just
especially the way Teutonic Terror and the Abyss go right into each other. I mean, that's to me, that's the highlight of the record. But
I always liked the Abyss, man. That was the first song we released.
It's an amazing song.
As with me and the band, and it was like before that, it was a rough ride before that came out because people were not having it. The internet was not happy with me. Oh my gosh!
Now, do you think that's just because you were replacing a legend, or they weren't giving it a chance?
I was trying to replace a legend,
Yeah.
And there's no replacing him. It's just,
of course,
we just move on. And
you move on, exactly. Give it a shot, give it a chance, and appreciate it for what it is.
I've always emulated the replacement person in the band and the fans to like kids who don't want their parents to get divorced. You're going to get new families. You're going to get more Christmas presents.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes.
I get it, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. I agree with Jay. I think all 5 of the records you've done with Accept are here to take what Jay said a step further, not to take anything away from the classic lineup, but since you've joined the band, I definitely think there's just been much more of an attention to detail of making the production insane. Well, I mean, the albums have a great sonic sound.
That's it.
And I just think it's like it's the best of everything except was, and it's every album is just that.
That's neat, and it's also Wolf is just such a
he's a riff master.
Particular, I don't want to say micromanaging, but he's very particular about what he wants to hear. So
he's definitely under the radar as far as a guitar player, because some of those
he's totally underrated.
My God, some of the solos that are on, not even the old stuff, but I'm just saying on these previous 5 albums, like to me, like I said, Blood of the Nations is definitely the masterpiece. My personal favorite is Blind Rage. And that's the reason for that is that's
a lot of people say that. I don't know, that's definitely not my favorite, but I like the album.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that it's necessarily the best, but it's my favorite. And I guess because part of the reason for that is it was the first Accept album that I actually owned. So, I kind of got to the party a little late, and I kind of wish I would have, started sooner. But I definitely, Accept is.
We just restocked the bar. So.
I'm telling you right now, a lot of the stuff on Blind Rage is just, like I said, it's a lot of it is the lyrics too, and just songwriting. The songwriting in general. Like my favorite song on that album is "The Curse."
Now see, that's Gabby had a lot to do with writing the lyrics of that song.
Who?
Gabby with Wolf. Most of the old songs on the old albums were the lyricist name was Deffy, which is their manager, our manager, Gabby Hoffman, Wolf's wife.
Wolf's wife, yeah.
She used to write. She wrote balls. She wrote all the stuff that doesn't sound like broken English.
Yeah, I know Jay and I are both a huge fan of The Undertaker on the new record too.
Yeah, well, that's another story I'll give you. But The Curse was one of the songs that she came up with the original, idea for the lyric and wrote a lot of the chorus parts and stuff, and then I took over and put it into better English. Let's put it that way.
Got it.
Deep, and I like the way that you guys kind of ask a question in the song.
Yeah. It's to be thought provoking. Exactly. Again, Yeah. I like to believe that the audience is not stupid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people they're hoping that the audience is stupid. I'm not. I'm hoping I can throw a curveball and they might be able to hit it.
Yeah, sure. Now I have to ask: have you ever met Udo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, I'll tell you a story. Back when they played at Lemoore, and I guess it was '83. It was the Balls tour. They were opening for Kiss at Radio City. They were touring with Kiss. Okay. And we opened for them at Lemoore. And at the end of the night, I went downstairs to the other dressing room. The rest of them are already on the bus. Udo was sitting there on the couch. And we had a very short conversation. And all of a sudden, Gabby comes walking downstairs. This little German woman, the manager, walks in the room, looks at me, she goes, "Udo, on the bus, schnell!" And he looks at me and he goes, "I must go."
That's great.
Hysterical. And I've met him since I've been in the band. We've had cordial words. That's about it.
Okay. Well, cordial's nice.
Yeah, very, very just okay. Goodbye. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and now that the band's half American, they still have that German sound.
Yeah, well, some things aren't going to change. It's never going to be a blues band.
Yeah. And I'll say this. You're the perfect replacement for Udo. Like, if you listen to, you guys doing Fast as a Shark live, outside of, the production being better on an album now because of modern production techniques, it sounds like Udo on there. You're the perfect replacement.
Well, I'm hoping I sound a little bit different, but
you do. But you know what I mean.
But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not trying to sing like him. I'm not trying to sound like him. But I want those old songs. I want the fans to be happy.
Yeah. No,
I
and
don't
here's the
want
thing.
them. I don't want them going home going, well, it would have been way better if Udo was singing it.
No, exactly.
I'm not letting that happen.
That's my point. It's not that you even need to emulate it. You just have the perfect vocal style. You're the perfect fit that could have replaced Udo. Even if you listen to the TT Quick stuff, you know, Udo could sing your stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Maybe.
TT Quick could get Udo to fill in for you. It would work just as well. So anyway, man. Listen, Mark, it's been great, man. Did you have anything you wanted to ask Mark, Jay?
Yeah, I did
How
actually.
about those Mets?
Yeah. I think the Mets are going all the way, dude. I
Dude,
really
I was
do, Mark.
so happy the last couple of days, but they won that doubleheader the other day, and then yesterday Peterson had a great outing. Luke looked great. Diaz actually was the closer.
He
Oh my
looked
God.
unbelievable.
And McCann hit his first home run.
Yeah,
Son of a bitch.
Peterson looked amazing, man.
He was
I mean,
great.
he
Except
could
for
be
the
a
one,
real
the
find
one
here.
hanger, but other than that, man, he pitched his ass off.
Unbelievable, man. I know Jay's
And Wheeler was throwing, freaking 3, 4, 5 miles an hour faster. Didn't matter.
Yeah, it's true. I think this team, the talent is there. I mean, I'm not saying it as a Mets fan, as a homer. I really think that this team's built to win.
I think the talent is definitely there. They have to become a unit now.
Yeah.
And work on the things that are, I mean, you started to see it yesterday with the hits. First 3 guys, bam, 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 just pounding them out, every time through the lineup.
Yep. And we haven't even really gotten McNeil hot yet. Alonso's not hitting, and Conforto's ice cold. I mean, this lineup's going to be scary.
And when do we get our pitching back? When's Carrasco supposed to come in now?
Yeah.
And if Syndergaard is on, on schedule, hopefully in June he'll be back. So.
Yeah.
34. There it is. Boom.
Nice. I got my 7 line on. I know you're a 7 line guy.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to a game with the group?
We've sat with them. Actually rode, though. I think the last one we went to, we rode on the 7 line.
Oh, down in DC?
Took the training.
Spring training?
No. It was not last year, but 2019. We took the train from Jersey into Manhattan and then over to Long Island and rode the 7 line.
Oh, the actual. I misunderstood you.
Rode the 7 train.
Got you. Cool.
I was just down in Florida, and I wanted to go to spring training so badly. We couldn't get tickets. It was 20%.
Yeah, that's why.
And that's like, trying to get real tickets too. There's guys that go every year and they're sold out.
Yep.
You weren't getting in. I was actually thinking about calling Mike and going, dude, can you help me out? And it turned out he was there when we were there too. But I wound up going over to the West Coast to my cousins. But it was a nice time anyway. It's nice to get the hell out of here, away from all the restrictions. So
I used to go to spring training for like 2 weeks every year before my oldest was in school, and then I couldn't do it anymore. But it was awesome, man. I used to love it. I used to do the practices in the morning. You meet all the players.
Yeah, and you really get to hang with them a little bit. They're all willing to talk to you when they're not getting bombarded.
Exactly. It was a great experience. Speaking of Mike, are you friendly with Piazza?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. Actually, I actually played at Mike's 30th birthday party, and down in the village. Eddie Trunk threw him a party for his 30th birthday. He was still on the Mets.
Yeah,
and Edgar Casey band played, which was the guys from Prophet, and David and I sat in with him, and it turned out Kenny's girlfriend got sick. He had to take her to the hospital. And so David wound up playing the whole night, and I wound up knowing more of songs that he knew. So I wound up singing most of the night. I got pictures of Mike and I singing on stage together.
That's
hysterical. Awesome. And then when I joined Accept, he was really happy about it. And Eddie he called me up and he was congratulating me. And then when Stalingrad came out, I'm sitting here one day, phone rings. My wife's like, phone's ringing. I'm like, who is it? Oh, it's Mike Piazza. It's Mike Piazza. What the hell? It's like, holy shit. So,
somebody just commented, Jason, you're surrounded by Mets fans.
Yeah.
Poor Jason.
Poor Jason. Oh, well.
I'll tell you this, Mark. If you put a word in for Mike to come on our show, oh, it'd mean the world to me.
I'm sure it would. I'll do what I can.
Little birdie tells him.
You should get Eddie Trunk on, man. He's a great Mets fan.
Yeah, no, Eddie's the man. I love Eddie Trunk. I told you we were at that metal show. I've met Eddie. I also met him. Last time I met Eddie, I don't remember. It might have been before that. Actually, it was at the Anthrax show at Starland Ballroom. The worship music tour. Great comeback album, by the way. If I'm thinking of like a comeback record that reminds me of like Blood of the Nations, it would be Anthrax worship music. And they got Joey back in the band. Those two records to me, they have that same meaning to me as far as like what was I expecting and how they blew my mind, you know? Getting back into the music a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay, man. I'm all about it.
Yeah. That notion. I'm on. Like I said, Blood of the Nations to me is just top notch. And speaking of the Undertaker, we had a comment here from the comments about Undertaker being a great song. I heard a recent interview with Don Jamieson that you did, and you talked a little about the backstory to those lyrics. Something happened with like a text conversation.
We were touring. I guess it was 2000. Maybe it might have been probably 2019. It was a summer tour. We were doing the festivals, and I was texting with Gabby, and somewhere towards the end of the text, we were talking about something and somebody, I guess, passing away, and she said, "Well, you know, the Undertaker's a busy man," and I just texted her back, "Yep, sifts us all like grains of sand." And then she sent another line, and I went, "Oh, it's on now." So I wrote it as a poem, and I wrote three long stanzas, and sat on it for forever. And when we started doing the preliminaries for Too Mean to Die, Wolf was looking for ideas, and I was going through my things, and I looked at that, and I was like, "Well, I'll shoot it out there, see what he thinks." And he read it, and he was like, "Oh my God, I love this." And he changed, took certain things out to make them more poignant as, pre-choruses and choruses, but it's basically almost identical to what I wrote. And that's how it became a song. I had no intentions of it being a song.
That's actually a great lyric. Sifts us all like grains of sand.
Yep.
Great lyric.
Like the Undertaker is a busy man, for he and death go hand in hand. He works all day and digs all night. He loves the dead, they are his life. No mortal can escape his plan. He sifts us all as grains of sand. Like, just it's a poem.
In the end, you understand. The Undertaker's a busy man.
It's just, and the way that song comes together, and like I said, it's not the typical balls to the wall, no pun intended, sound. It's a different sound for Accept, but it's definitely like, like I said, it has the elite lyrics, but I love, like, to me, what does it for me, the whole song is the classical guitar. Like that's, the intro coming in, and it just has that deep, dark sound. And it, like, if you didn't see the video, you could see yourself like at a cemetery. That's just how that song makes me feel. Like, and that's to me, part of a good song is the way that the song makes you feel when you hear it. And like I said, I've played that song probably 20 times in the last 3 days since I've been prepping for this show, and it doesn't get old. Like, I just keep listening to it. And to me, that's that's what a good song's all about.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
I mean,
and we had written that long before COVID, or before COVID became a huge thing, and people were, obviously dropping, and we thought twice about releasing it as the single, and then we said no, and then Nuclear Blast said no. They're like, "No, we're going to put it out."
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the other track. Why don't you talk about the Zombie Apocalypse? Because that's another awesome. Yeah, that's the opener.
Well, that's another song that I had written. I had just written the lyrics, and I actually was writing that for a different project, and I really didn't see it as an accept song, but I figured let me send Wolf the lyrics anyway and see what he thinks. He's either going to love it or he's going to hate it, and he loved it. And I had envisioned it totally differently, like really like drop D, slow, drudge, zombie, you know. And he came back with that, and I was like, holy shit, I love this. This is great.
I'm telling you, like when I heard that song, it's just not what I'm used to from Accept, but it's like it blew me away. Like that's what I like about this new album. You kind of did it you went a little different direction, but it does the same thing.
It's heavy, man.
Yeah, there's even a ballad on here. What is it? The best is yet to come, right?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, definitely a different vocal style for you.
Yeah, I actually got to sing one. I got to scream.
Yeah, they threw you a bone.
Hey,
give them a break.
Hey, it's nice to be able to sing once in a while.
Yes, definitely. Anyway, I gotta ask you another baseball question before we end the show tonight. I want to know your honest opinion. Jay and I just did a show about it. Like, obviously, we're diehard Mets fans. We love the pitching. But I need to know, what do you think about the way the game is being played now, with the excessive attention to pitch counts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, like not letting DeGrom finish a game after 80 pitches, that it just doesn't make sense. I mean, come on.
Awful. It's awful. It's just like
I would have left Stroman in the other night. Let the guy finish the game.
I was just going to get to that.
7-inning game. Come on.
I was just going to get to it. That's why I was bringing up the DeGrom game too.
Base? Come on, give me a break.
Because he ran the bases. You let him hit in the bottom of the sixth in a 7th-inning game with 85 pitches.
You're supposed
then
to be
after you don't hit for him, you take him out of the game because he ran the bases? What logic is that?
No, there is no logic.
There's no logic to it.
I don't like it, man.
I just wanted to know if you felt the way I felt, because I mean, it makes me not like Rojas. But here's the thing.
Yeah, I think he's taking his orders from a higher source.
I agree, and that's where I was going to go with that. It leads me to the bigger point, which was the point of our show. This is like a plague that has taken over Major League Baseball.
Yep.
If you take of every team's fan base, I can guarantee you, if you go to that city on any given night, those fans are saying, "God damn it, why did he pull him out?" And blah, blah, blah. It's the same conversation in every city. But it's literally the definition of insanity. If you do the same thing every day and expect a different
outcome,
that's insanity. And it's like every day you see these teams that have starters rolling 7-8 innings, 85, 95 pitches with like a 3-0 lead. And you look in the box score, they lose 5-3. And the bullpen gives up 5 runs in an inning and a third.
And the other thing that drives me nuts with them is Familia and Diaz. You know, they'll put them in. They're obviously don't have it, but they'll leave them in. I mean, you gotta leave them in for 3 pitches now, for 3 batters.
Well, with the new
Thank
rules,
God they pulled Familia out yesterday because, you know,
he didn't have it.
He didn't have it.
Yep.
How many times have they done this with those two? They'll just
and guess what?
They would have blown a 5-run lead. You know,
absolutely. And I made a point with Jay the other week too. You could have 7 Mariano Riveras in your bullpen. You could have Mariano Rivera and 6 clones of Mariano Rivera. If you're making 5 pitching changes every night, you're increasing the odds that one of those guys is going to have an off night that night.
Yes,
so
sir.
Why not go with the guy that just gave you 7 innings, hardly throw any pitches, and clearly has it that night?
Yes.
Why take this guy out and then make 4 pitching changes, knowing that any one of those 4 might not have it?
Yeah, and you're just eating up your bullpen for nothing.
It's awful. It's awful.
I don't get it. The other thing that drives me nuts is the whole controversy about the DH. You know, I think it's National League. Pitchers hit, and they hit well. Look at DeGrom. He hits well.
I agree. I'm an old school.
You know, come on.
I'm an old school guy. What's that, Jay? What's that?
Well, I said I'll go one step further. This rule of, you know, runner on second, you know.
I don't like that either.
I mean, everything about the game is just basically, you know, ruining baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's awful.
Well, now they're talking about more change.
I'm curious, who's your football team? I know you're a huge Mets fan. Do you like football?
Yeah, I'm actually a Giants fan.
Okay.
Makes no sense at all, right?
Here's where you're going to get mad at me. Here's where you're going to get mad at me, Mark.
I mean, I'll watch the Jets too, but
Yeah, now you're gonna get mad at Aaron.
Go ahead.
See, I'm a Dolphins fan.
Ooh, ouch.
But look,
At least you're not a Cowboys fan. So.
Look, here's the great thing about it. If I do Mets or Dolphins, the colors still go.
All right, well, kind of. Yeah.
There you go. It works.
That go for you.
Well, obviously, I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm your rival.
Yep.
But not right now either. So we're kind of both in the same boat on that.
We can both hate the Cowboys together. So
that's true.
I agree that we have a mutual hate for that.
And I hate the Jets, so I don't know if you do too, Mark.
I don't hate the Jets.
Okay.
I feel badly for the Jets.
You know what? This is going to sound crazy. I'm a Dolphins fan. I can't hate them either. They've stunk forever. Like, what's the hate?
I know.
It's like
I know.
You know,
it's I don't know. I don't know. Easy to get tickets for their games.
Back to the DH. Real quick, getting back to the DH.
Yeah.
What I was saying is, I'm a huge old school guy. I'm a National League guy like you. I hate the DH, but I'm going to be honest with you. Just because of our roster, I almost for the first time ever was be like, all right, fine, I'll take it. Just because I know that would make sure that we don't trade Dom Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So selfishly for that reason, but beyond that, no, I'm not a DH guy.
Well, he's been getting a lot of play time.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And the crazy part is he should be at first. Alonso's the DH if we had one.
Yeah.
Dom Smith's a great defensive player.
He is.
He really is. But
he is. But Pete's been holding his own to first base. He's playing well.
He has.
I think. I think he's doing the work. He's putting a lot of work in to become a real first baseman. You know.
Yes, he definitely, and he's a great kid and a real hard worker.
Yeah, and he's an inspiration to the whole team. I think so.
I agree. I love Pete. I'm not dogging on Pete. Believe me.
No, last year had to be hard for anyone.
I agree.
So,
well, Jay's going to blow your mind. He actually picked the Phillies to win the division.
Let's see, who's in first place now?
Oh, rim shot.
Of course, we're a few games behind everybody too, thanks to Washington.
Yeah, but you know as much as I.
I was so mad that weekend. Oh,
awful. Yep.
You know as well as I do. 162 game season. It can
go anywhere, bro. It can go anywhere.
No, in all fairness, I did pick the Phillies, but obviously Aaron, agrees. That wasn't a homer pick. That's just how I feel. But it's going to be between the Phillies and Mets. I mean,
and the Braves.
I think so too.
Yeah, I don't discount Atlanta. I don't forget about Atlanta, but I just don't. I don't think they have the pitching. Their pitching is too young. They don't really have any
That is a young squad, man.
They don't have any real horses either at this point, unless they trade for somebody, at the trade deadline. But I feel that it's going to definitely be the Phillies and the Mets. Obviously, right now the Phillies' offense is in the shitter, so that's the reason why we haven't done anything.
Harper's been having a rough one, huh?
Yeah, but you know what? The funny thing about Harper is every year he does this, and he ends up with a great year at the end of the year. So
it's like Conforto too. He's in a slump. He's one of those guys that's either, he's either hot or he's not.
You're right.
Yeah.
He's a streak.
That's the frustration with Conforto. You're always waiting for him to have
the streak
315, 35, 135 RBI year. He's got that kind of swing.
Yep.
I don't understand. When he came up, he used to go the other way all the time. He got pull happy, but hopefully he gets out of it.
Well, not to get off the subject back to the music part, but I'm looking forward to seeing Accept live. So hopefully, this COVID thing gets over with in a hurry, and we can get back to seeing live music. And
I heard some good news the other day that we might actually be going to Europe in June now. There's a few festivals that have not been canceled. One of them in particular is in Finland, and they really want us to come do it. And management is telling us you should go do it. Everybody's vaccinated. Go do it.
That's awesome.
Even if it's a one-off, go do it. Show your face, because people don't want to buy tickets if they think you're not coming. So we have a tour to sell out for next year now. So let's, I think we need to go show our faces.
Yeah, knock on wood. I hope this is all over soon. We need to get these shows back.
And we still got some shows in the States we were supposed to play, and they've all been postponed again. That's all hanging on the M3 festival.
I was going to say, do you think 2022 is probably going to be the earliest that we have,
I don't know. I really don't know. Now, they postponed M3 last year from May to the fall, and then wound up postponing it to May again, and now this May was canceled. So they're saying they want to do it in the fall again. If they do it in the fall, we'll do it, and we'll do. There's 3 other shows we're supposed to do. Penn's Peak. There's one in Long Island, and we're supposed to play it out in Chicago at the Aragon, St. Charles. And if we're going to do that, we'll probably do more U.S. shows, but I don't know. It's all up in the air right now.
You guys ever do the cruise? I forget if you were involved on that.
We did 70,000 tons.
Okay.
I think that was 2018. It was a lot of fun. It was great.
A cruise I'd like to see you guys on, the Megadeth cruise.
Yeah, I would do any of them. I would, But we had a really good time on that.
Speaking of Megadeth, they're actually my favorite band. Have you ever met any of the guys from Megadeth?
Yeah, I know Dave. I mean, Dave and I played in Metal Allegiance together. So
okay.
So I've been on stage with Dave a few times. He's a very nice guy, and I'm talking about Dave Elfson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Dave Mustaine as well. I mean, TT Quick toured with Megadeth back in '86. So.
Yeah, I would imagine you guys, rubbed shoulders with Metallica in the real early days too.
We did. Megaforce. Yep, we did.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Z, they had him all crammed living in his house.
Yeah, we played a couple of shows with them back then.
Yeah, I would imagine. So
very early on.
Probably knew Dave Mustaine back in those days.
Yeah.
He was probably wild.
And I've seen him recently at festivals, and spoke to him. He's, nice guy.
Cool. I know Jay had a question. I'll ask it. If you had to pick one lead vocalist that would be your biggest influence, who would that be?
That's hard. Probably Bon Scott.
Okay. You know what I love about Bon? More than the voice? The lyrics.
Attitude.
If you're going to talk about a great, the attitude and the lyrics.
And then that's all. It's all about that.
Now I'm going to get into a controversy.
David always used to tell me he thought he described Bon Scott as a simplistic genius.
That's the best way to describe him. He was the master of the double entendre.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Always his tongue-in-cheek lyrics, man.
All tongue-in-cheek leads me to a controversial subject. Do you think that Bon Scott wrote the lyrics on the Back in Black album?
No.
You do not?
I don't think so.
That's one of the biggest conspiracy theories in rock.
Yeah, I know it is. There's also a conspiracy theory that he sang a demo Back in Black. I've actually heard it, and it's not him.
I have not heard that. I wouldn't believe that.
It's a good impersonation.
Sure. I haven't heard it.
But it's not him. Angus denies it all.
I know Angus. They all deny it. But the AC/DC's also, they're like the mafia. Like anything like in the AC/DC family is top secret. Lock and key.
Look out.
Absolutely. But the reason I do sometimes
I'm just glad Brian's back and didn't do a record with Axl Rose. God help me.
I'm not bagging on Brian. Before I go any further with this, I think Brian's a legend. I might as well say this. My favorite bands in the world of all time are Guns N' Roses and AC/DC and Van Halen. That's my awesome threesome, my holy trinity. So I'm an AC/DC guy, so I should have prefaced that. I'm not picking one over the other. I love the Bon era. I love the Brian era. But it's just I recently read a book, and it's definitely something that is always floating out there in the internet and wherever you are, that Bon wrote those lyrics. And I just wonder sometimes, because if you listen to the lyrics on Back in Black, it really is like in the total writing style of Bon. And I don't think AC/DC ever had the style of lyrics subsequent to that album. Like when you go to from those about to rock moving forward, the lyrics I don't think ever matched the style of the Back in Black lyrics.
No, you could be right.
Yeah, it's just a thought. I mean,
Yeah,
go
well,
look on that. Like, really,
never
get
say
into those
never.
lyrics.
They deny it. So who the hell knows? But they were very close to going into the studio at that point too.
That's the crazy part that also lends credence to the theory. Bon died, and within a few months they had Brian in there, and they were recording Back in Black.
Yeah.
And then you have lyrics like whiskey, gin, and brandy. With the glass, I'm pretty handy. Trying to walk a straight line. I'm tired of washing cheap wine. That's got Bon all over it.
Yeah.
That's like Bon's style.
Never know, bro.
AC/DC shirt. So I had to represent.
Yes.
I tried to get an accept shirt, but I'm gonna have to.
He didn't get it. He wasn't able to get it fast enough.
Yeah, I should have had a premonition that we were gonna have you on and got it earlier, but
I was going to wear a shirt underneath this tonight, but I didn't. I went for the other.
That?
I was going to wear an accept shirt underneath this, but I just had double up on the Mets. So.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
He really came to a battle with a gunfight today.
He came to a knife fight with a cannon.
Only thing I'm not carrying is a bat.
So I did have one more question myself. So I'm curious. Did you foresee yourself when you were a young kid? Did you foresee yourself as being a rock star?
Yes.
And if so, like what age?
I'm in grammar school.
Great question.
My first real band, I'm going to say, where we actually went out and had gigs. I think I was in 5th grade. So
that's amazing. I was just curious because
I played guitar then, and I've played basically everything. I've been everything in a band. I've been the keyboard player, the drummer, the bass player, the guitar player. But no matter what, I was always the singer. Because when you sing better than everybody else, you get both jobs. So it was nice to put all that stuff down and be able to concentrate on singing.
Believe it or not,
but
I used to be the singer in my band.
I was a stone Beatle nut when I was a kid. I mean, the Beatles came out. I was in 2nd grade, so 3rd grade, and I was like lost my mind.
I used to sing in my bands for the same reason. I was the only one that could sing.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's pretty cool that, you had mentioned earlier in the show that, you kind of modeled yourself after Robert Plant, because I definitely see some of that in that TT Quick album. Like,
I always loved Led Zeppelin. I mean, there's a lot of 70s rock. I mean, that I really loved. Deep Purple and so many great bands, man. Montrose, God, American band, Aerosmith. Come on.
You have that vocal range, like it's a wide range. You have the raspy type voice, but you were able to get really high on especially on that album. Like, so I definitely, it's cool that you said that because I could see it. The Robert Plant influence.
Yep. I really was a big Zeppelin freak back then too, so.
Speaking of playing in bands when you were young, I think that's the saddest thing about the world we're living in now.
Oh yeah.
Kids don't play music.
They play to this.
Yeah, it's like I always tell my son, like when we were in junior high, I mean, one of the biggest things was that like somebody had drums, somebody had a guitar, somebody had a PA system, everybody had a group of friends and they were jamming in somebody's garage.
And you'd go out and you honed your chops by doing that every day. You're playing off of someone else. That's how you do it.
Yeah, but kids aren't even into music.
You learn what works and what doesn't work. No, everybody wants to win a freaking contest.
Yeah, and kids just aren't into music anymore. Yeah, like when we were growing up, like music. I don't know if you're like me, Mark, but like when I think back on my youth, like every memory that I have is associated with a song or a style of music. When I think back on my life, I don't think today's generation is that anymore. It's like they don't buy albums. They don't even download singles now because now it's just streamed.
Yep.
Or YouTube.
Oh, I know all about it.
Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad state, you know. I don't know how we can change it. But.
I don't either. Well, someday the power will go out, and then, you know.
Yeah, and they won't know what to do with themselves.
Just saying. Good. Luckily for me, I'm a union electrician too. So.
Okay, there you go. So you get extra work. Anyway, Mark, I want to thank you for coming on the show. We're just about out of time.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you back if you're ever willing to come back on. So
anytime, bro.
I'll tell you what, if the Mets make the playoffs, I'm holding you to that.
We're doing it.
Definitely.
Let's go, Mets. I got to get to a game. Got to get tickets. Can't even get tickets.
I know. Hopefully soon, man.
It's horrible. I definitely want to go to the 9/11 game.
Definitely. But
Mike's going to be there. They're playing the Yankees. It's going to be good. That's going to be a tearjerker.
Definitely. Hey, hit me up. I'll join you.
Hey, let's get us all together, man. I know lots of Mets fans.
Definitely, man.
That are rockers. You know who you should get on your show is JD from Black Label Society. He's another huge Mets fan.
Definitely.
Another Jersey boy.
Yep. Yeah. Zach's a Jersey boy. Jackson.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Dude, I've known Zach Jeffrey since he was 18. Zach's band Zyrus used to open for TT Quick at Stone Pony every Tuesday.
Awesome.
And then he went. I remember when he went for the audition.
That's great, man.
We knew he was going to get it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But thanks for coming on, Mark. We'll have you again soon, man. Let's go fucking Mets.
Let's fucking go Mets. LFPM, bitches.
Rock on, everybody.
All right, guys.
Take it
I'll
easy.
see you all soon.
And that's our show. Tune in next time for more Sports and Metal with Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage. Woo, yeah! Got something to say? Hit us up at sportsandmetal0423 at yahoo.com or on Twitter at sportsandmetal.